Hello, my name is David Berner, and the author I want to talk about here is Sherwood Anderson. Sherwood Anderson from Ohio, not from Chicago, but he lived here for a long time. Came here to live, my understanding is, with his brother, who was going to school at the Art Institute at the time, right around the turn of the century. And he did a lot of his writing here. Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio is considered to be his masterpiece. It's a novel of linked stories about a small town in Ohio. And to me, Sherwood Anderson never got the accolades he deserved. Sherwood Anderson, to me, is the precursor to Hemingway, that crisp, sort of short style, looking at the everyday lives of people and their dreams and their wants and needs. And I think Winesburg, Ohio is just a beautiful piece with a lot of those kinds of attributes in it. The piece I want to read, the short piece inside this, I'll read a few paragraphs of it. It's called Nobody Knows, from Winesburg, Ohio, Sherwood Anderson. Looking cautiously about, George Willard arose from his desk in the office of the Winesburg Eagle and went hurriedly out at the back door. The night was warm and cloudy, and although it was not yet 8 o'clock, the alleyway back of the Eagle office was pitch dark. A team of horses tied to a post somewhere in the darkness stamped on the hard-baked ground. A cat sprang from under George Willard's feet and ran away into the night. The young man was nervous. All day he had gone about his work like one dazed by a blow. In the alleyway he trembled as though with fright. In the darkness, George Willard walked along the alleyway, going carefully and cautiously. The back doors of the Winesburg stores were open, and he could see men sitting about under the store lamps. In Myers Baum Notion store, Mrs. Willie and the shopkeeper's wife stood by the counter with a basket on her arms. Sid Green, the clerk, was waiting on her. He leaned over the counter and talked earnestly. George Willard crouched and then jumped through the path of light that came out the back door. He began to run forward in the darkness. Behind Ed Griffith's saloon, old Jerry Bird, the town drunkard, lay asleep on the ground. The runner stumbled over the sprawled legs. He laughed brokenly. George Willard had set forth upon an adventure. All day he had been trying to make up his mind to go through with the adventure, and now he was acting. In the office of the Winesburg Eagle, he had been sitting there since 6 o'clock, trying to think. There had been no decision. He had just jumped to his feet, hurried past Will Henderson, who was reading proof in the print shop, and started to run along the alleyway. Through street after street went George Willard. Avoiding the people who passed, he crossed and recrossed the road. When he passed a street lamp, he pulled his hat down over his face. He did not dare think. In his mind there was a fear, but it was a new kind of fear. He was afraid the adventure on which he had set out would be spoiled, that he would lose courage and turn back. George Willard found Louise Trunion in the kitchen of her father's house. She was washing dishes by the light of a kerosene lamp. There she stood behind the screen door in the little shed-like kitchen at the back of the house. George Willard stepped by a picket fence and tried to control the shaking of his body. Only a narrow potato patch separated him from the adventure. 5 minutes passed before he felt sure enough of himself to call to her. "Louise, oh, Louise," he called. The cry stuck in his throat. The voice became a hoarse whisper. Louise Trunion came out across the potato patch, holding the dishcloth in her hand. "How do you know I want to go out with you?" she said. "What makes you so sure?" George Willard did not answer. In silence, the two stood in the darkness with the fence between them. "You go along," she said. "Pause in there. I'll come along. You wait by William's barn." The young newspaper reporter had received a letter from Louise Trunion. It had come in the morning to the office of the Winesburg Eagle. The letter was brief. "I'm yours if you want me." Sherwood Anderson, Winesburg, Ohio.